Over the past 6 weeks, I have dropped exactly 6 kilograms, going from 91.5 down to 85.5. And of course, I have done this with a very nice, easy, balanced and sustainable approach to fat loss. Oh wait, I've not done it that way, because the internet has fed you a lie to make you believe that balance is better with fat loss. So today I'm here to show you not only the approach that has gotten me 6 kilograms down in 6 weeks, but also to show you why balance isn't better, but in fact it is bullshit. So into my lovely fat loss period, which has taken me from looking like this just after I got home from Bali at the start of March to looking like this on my most recent check-in photos. I say check-in photos, I've not currently got a coach, so it's checking in with myself. And timely, as we sit and eat breakfast, I'm gonna start off with exactly what my nutrition has looked like. But first, I'm gonna sit and finish off my cereal. One day, I will be able to do a muscle up. One day. The actual strength training side of things is not going to massively impact, for example, your calorie deficit. Of course, strength training does burn calories, goes without saying, but it's probably not going to have the same ripple effect as, you know, going a few hundred calories over every single day in your actual intake. The big thing for me, and what it should be for you as well with your strength training, is trying to maintain that muscle mass, because there does seem to be a little bit of a misconception that when you're strength training in a deficit, in a diet, in a fat loss phase, you're just going to get weaker. Now, of course, if I'm ploughing away 3,500 calories a day, high carbs, naturally I'm going to build that bit more muscle, that more strength. Of course I am. However, when I'm in a diet phase, you can still build muscle, and at the very minimum, you should still be looking to maintain your numbers, you know, etc. across the lifts for as long as possible into the deficit. The only time in which your numbers should probably take a bit of a drop, or will maybe take a bit of a drop, is once you get into like the last few weeks where your body fat's down, your muscle mass has maybe started to deteriorate a tiny bit, you've maybe lost a little bit of muscle. But in general, that carbohydrate breakfast there, that was crunchy nut, fruit and a squares bar. So I'll put the macros on screen for it just now, but pretty much the majority of my carbohydrates in a day right now are going towards my breakfast or my pre-workout. Usually I've always been a guy to train early in the morning, like 6-7 a.m. first thing, but right now I'm actually pushing that session back to about 11 a.m. because I'm only having 2 main meals, which again I'm going to get into more detail when I get back home. But I'm only having like a big proper lunch and a big proper dinner, and obviously my breakfast as well, but I'm pushing back that first carbohydrate meal so that I can have that as a pre-workout, so that my first proper meal, my post-workout, will be a bit later in the day. When I get to the end of this diet and I get to my photo shoot, I don't just want to look flat and skinny, I want to look full, I want to look muscular, dense as well. I don't just want to look like a twig that's just been starving on myself. Today's session is chin-ups. I've just done that. We're going to go into a barbell bent over row, then we'll do some lat pull downs, some single arm lat pull, then I'll get in some face pulls, and then we'll finish off with a couple of bicep variations and then a little bit of core. But I'm feeling good, I'm feeling strong, so let's go get it.
You can do both at the same time. Right to it. Thank you for your time. That's really appreciated. Right, no problem.
First ever Tangoed Zero, cherry, sugar free, very nice. What an unbelievable day this is. Hello Mr. Summer, absolutely fan-bloody-tastic. That session was tough. That Stairmaster at the end, I actually forgot to record it, but I do 20-minute Stairmaster after every session right now. Intensity level 10, which is, it's actually alright to be fair. The only time that I've actually struggled with it so far was on my leg day last week. I done it at the end, and I genuinely swear about 6 minutes in I was cursing myself, because like I said, I've not got a coach yet for the next little while, so I've just been programming myself, and I was like, why the fuck have I given myself this? We're going home just now to get some lunch, and that's actually going to lead into my next main point, which is talking about meal timings. Now, when I get home I'll show you what I'm actually having, but earlier on I had that breakfast at about 9:30, which in times gone by would be very late for me to have breakfast, but I'm very in a good routine right now. And to be fair, that's actually another point, not only if you're in an aggressive fat loss phase, but just in a fat loss phase in general, and just across your fitness. Your routine can be literally the deciding factor between how successful you are. Right now, I know exactly when I'm training. I know when I'm eating, and of course I appreciate that not everybody has that luxury because of different jobs and that. Of course I do, okay? You've just got to try and make your routine the best that you can. So right now I know that I'm having my breakfast at about 9:30, which is a very carb heavy breakfast, and then I'll train at about 11, so I've got about 90 minutes for that food to settle, and then I'll train until about 12:30. I'll come home, my lunch will be at about 1 o'clock. It's a bit later just now because I actually bumped into a client on my walk home, and that's going to be a very, very protein heavy meal, which I'll show you just now, with a bit of carbs. And then I will have either a protein shake in about 3 hours, or I'll skip that and I'll just have that bit more protein at dinner. Today is looking like it's just going to be a high protein lunch and dinner because I'm probably not going to eat until about 2:30. But one of the best things that you can actually do is to push your meals back as far as you can. Now I'm not saying don't eat anything until 8 p.m, but I genuinely think that you could probably not have your first meal until about 1 p.m. Now, a pushback that I've often had from clients on this and general opinions is that, oh, but I'm just too hungry, I'll be hungry. Well, yeah, of course you'll be hungry. You're not eating when your body's used to be eating. And there's some people that this is just not good for. You know, if you're somebody who suffers with an eating disorder or has, you know, got not the best relationship with it, of course this is not going to be helpful for you. But if you're somebody who's just trying to stick to your deficit a bit more, or potentially stick to a lower deficit like myself, or well, technically a bigger deficit, it can be a big massive thing. So I'm going to go and get it home just now because my arms, I've just done an arm session and it's really fucking sore holding this camera right now. Oh, and it is lunchtime. So I said it was a bit of a random lunch. So this here is a Tesco big party salad. Honestly, these things are unbelievable. It's 200 calories and it's a big fucking massive salad. That's literally it. So we've got on here 240 grams of normal chicken, the last 60 grams of this barbecue chicken thing that I got out of Tesco the other day, 4 rice cakes, I've already eaten one, 536 calories, 77 grams of protein, 34 grams of carbs, 5 grams of fat. With my dinner already pre-logged, which is going to be chicken and potatoes, fancy. That puts me at 1786 calories and 170 grams of protein by the day. So tonight after my dinner, I'll have yogurt and fruit pretty much. But yeah, so this is now 2:05 that I'm eating this meal. I'm going to have this, it's pretty filling. I will also keep on top of water intake. I'm probably doing about 3 litres a day just now, so I'll have quite a lot of that in between the day. I've got another energy juice to have as well, so I'll probably have my dinner at about 6:30. And if I'm having this at 2, it's only 4.5 hours until I get to my dinner. I'm not feeling that hungry. Don't get me wrong, I'll be peckish by that time, but the issue with being in an aggressive deficit like this, if I was having my breakfast at say 7 a.m. and then having my lunch at 12 o'clock, by the time I'm getting to 6:30, I'm absolutely unbelievably hungry, and I don't want to get to that level of hunger where it starts impacting my day-to-day. Now, obviously that's going to happen naturally when you're in an aggressive deficit, but I would like to minimise that as much as possible. So I'm going to get this down me, and then I've got one other last area to cover on regards to the whole how I'm actually doing this, how I'm dropping this weight, and I will share that with you later on this afternoon. But yeah, let's get a bit of a fucking chicken and salt and vinegar rice cake and chicken.
Whew, what a scorcher of a day. Genuinely, definitely the best day of weather I've had since I got home from Bali. Okay, fair enough, it's maybe not quite 31 degrees, but look at Scotland and it's been about 15 degrees today, which if you're from Scotland, or to be fair, even Britain in general, is a very, very, very good day of weather. And it's actually made my third thing of what I'm doing very, very easy, because it's literally just steps. And I know that's going to sound boring, but people just don't do them enough. I know steps have this very negative connotation. It's like, oh, I've got to go for a walk. Now, besides the actual cardiovascular benefits of actually moving more, over a period of time, they do help with your calorie deficit. Now, they only burn a few hundred calories at most, unless you're doing some madness of like 30,000 steps. But for most of us, myself included, that is pretty unrealistic. However, when it comes to how many steps should you do, if you're going into a deficit, I would just be aiming for 3,000 to 4,000 above what you're currently doing. So for me, at the start of March, when I started this, I was probably averaging about 9,000 to 10,000 steps per day. Now I'm averaging a lot less running, so I've began to move that more into the 13,000 to 14,000 mark. Today we are actually sitting at 15.4, but that's because the weather, I went for a big massive walk. That's the thing with cardio in general as well. I'm doing 20 minute Stairmaster like I said earlier on. Now if you're just going for a standard calorie deficit, a normal fat loss, I would just be looking at the standards of drop your calories by 500 below your maintenance, increase your steps by day about 3,000, maybe add in 10 minutes of cardio 3 times a week and strength train a few times, and just trying to hit about 1.5 to 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, probably about 1.6 actually. However, if you're like me and you would rather just go hard and fast and get it over and done with in a few months, because realistically the way that I'm going, I could quite easily finish my cut in the next 2 weeks and I'd be fine. And honestly, for a lot of people, if you are wanting to drop a decent amount of weight in 10 weeks, you can absolutely do it the way that I am. I'm just eking out for a few weeks longer because my next build, my next gaining phase, my next bulk, whatever you want to call it, will be very, very prolonged. As in, it'll probably going to last me about a year, and the leaner that I can get right now, the more time I can spend in that, and the less body fat I've got now, when I finish this, the less body fat I'll put on when I'm doing that. I think you've got to look at your normal activity right now, and if you've got the time, because that's a big one, if you're looking for like an aggressive fat loss phase, not everybody has the time for that level of it. However, I do think that you can probably do a bit more than you think. And for my own clients, I'm almost trying to do this in a 9 to 5 way, because a lot of my clients and a lot of people in general will see me, my career, the fact that I'm a coach, the fact that I work from home, I've got the, you know, I'm in charge of my own schedule fully. They'll go, oh, but it's easy for you. Yes, you know what? I'm not going to deny. Of course it is a little bit easier when you've got full control and charge over your schedule, but I'm trying to show you what's possible. So right now, before 7 AM, I'm hitting 4,500 steps. I'm then hitting about another 2,500 to 3,000 in the afternoon, which again is very achievable. I'm racking up probably about 2,500 to 3,500 in regards to just walking around the gym, doing the Stairmaster. Then I'm racking about another maybe couple of thousand in the evening. So it all adds up to hit about 13 to 14,000 per day. I think I mentioned it earlier, but the other thing is water intake, and I know that was a really quick turn to something completely different, but my water intake right now is about 3 to 4 litres, and I mentioned it briefly earlier, but water intake is so important and so helpful for actually just giving you that sense of feeling full. So if I can summarise everything that I've went through in this video, if you are looking to hit that aggressive fat loss and you're not wanting to take 5-6 months and you would rather just get in and get it done in 8 to 12 weeks, then I would recommend this plan of action. Find your maintenance. Instead of going 500 below it, go 800 below it. Instead of looking for 1.6 to 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, look for 2 to 2.3. Water intake. If you're a female or a male, to be fair, I would be aiming for about 3 to 4 litres per day. The activity side of things, if you are really on it with your nutrition and you're able to, stick at that, you don't need to do crazy shit with your activity. Look at your current steps target, look at your current steps in a day, try and add about 4,000 to it, 3 to 4,000. If you're not currently doing any cardio, add on 10 to 50 minutes of cardio at the end of every session. If you're currently doing any cardio, add on another 5 to 10 minutes on top of that. Strength training. Make sure that you are using carbohydrates before your gym session. Yes, it would be lovely to be able to have a lot of carbs with all 3 meals, but if you're in a more aggressive phase and you've not got that luxury of having as much food, as much calories available to you, manipulate it and have the carbs as much as, not all of them, but try and have a good chunk of your carbohydrates before your workout. 60 to 90 minutes. Make sure that those gym sessions you are leaving everything in there. And I know that sounds a bit cliche and a bit cheesy. If you want to get to this aggressive fat loss phase, if you want to get to the end of it and you want to look just flat and skinny and malnourished, then you can just focus on the nutrition side of things and steps and you will achieve that. However, if you want to get to the end of this phase and not only look lean but actually look, fucking hell, this person, this man, this woman, they have trained hard, then you gotta be looking at intensifiers, drop sets, supersets, negative, force reps, pause rests, all these different types of things to make sure that you're not just going in and doing 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. That's fine, but you can get more out of it. I would also recommend getting in as much vegetables and much salad as possible, especially within your 2 main meals. The beauty of raw vegetables, things like cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, carrots, lettuce, spinach, rocket, anything like that, the beauty is that you can have a massive volume of it without adding a massive volume of calories. For example, I'll have my dinner tonight, which is pork slices, potatoes, and I'll have basically a plate worth of salad beside it, okay? Like I said in the video earlier, you ideally don't want to be having a meal at 7 AM then waiting until 1 p.m, and then waiting until 7 p.m. if you're in a more aggressive phase. Because yes, will you be able to manage it? But your craving levels are going to be going up, your hunger levels are going to be going up. After a few weeks, you will begin to feel that bit more hunger creep in. That is normal, that is going to happen, and that's something that I have to reiterate. You are going to have to deal with hunger, but it shouldn't be within the first few weeks a level of hunger where you can't concentrate. At the start, it should be manageable if you are timing your food right. Protein intake, higher than normal steps, less calories than normal. Push it for 8 to 12 weeks. If you get to a spot within potentially week 6 to 8 where you feel absolutely dead, your performance in the gym is shit, you're feeling tired, you're feeling lethargic, you're feeling moody, you're feeling crabbit, give yourself a diet break. Give yourself a 1 to 3 day period where you bump up the carbohydrates and you give yourself more food. Don't go and take the piss. It's not going to give any long-term damage. Of course, it's going to increase your scale weight for the few days after it, but it could be the difference maker between you being right at it for 4 weeks, dealing with the hunger, but then the hunger gets too much and you just go, I fucking can't do this, and then you end up just binging or overeating. Or it could be the difference maker between that and you sticking at it, feeling the hunger levels go up, feeling that struggle creep in, giving yourself a little mini diet break, and then getting back at it. Aggressive dieting isn't for everybody. An aggressive approach isn't for everybody. But if you're somebody who's looking at it right now and you're like, you know what, I just want to essentially get as much body fat off as I can in the next 12 weeks while still feeling strong and feeling fairly fit, this is the way to go about it. So I'm going to go and get my dinner. I'm going to sit in the back garden and I'm going to enjoy the sun. I hope that you've also enjoyed the sun. If you have had the sun where you are, I think you have. I think it's been sunny everywhere in Britain today. So yes, I shall see you in the next video, and I would love to say I'm going to go get a tan, but it's nice weather, but realistically it's only Scotland. It's not quite tan sunny, is it?